Hey, welcome everyone to the second part of our two-part podcast, I guess you could say. We're coming back from South Dakota. We had some pretty good encounters that I think you guys will enjoy hearing about. It was another fun trip. Anytime you can get out of state and do some out-of-state hunting, it's just fun. Seeing different scenery, seeing different deer. I know one thing that I like a lot about this hunt is that we don't run many trail cameras out here. We actually had one going out here, but then the cattle got a hold of it. But it's just the thought of the unknown, what could be walking around. And we saw a few unknowns, and we're going to talk about it here in the podcast. And let's get to it. I hope you guys enjoy. Well, welcome everyone. We're coming home from South Dakota on the long trip. What is it, like 7.5 hours for us?
Right, somewhere in that range.
Somewhere there. Finally got everything set up. We're making our way back close to home. I kind of kept this podcast for us, so we're about an hour away from home, but had a little technical difficulties getting things set up, so we're about 35, 40 minutes away. So this won't be a very long podcast, but we just kind of wanted to recap our hunt we had out in South Dakota here, and there's a few things that happened while we were on this trip. Obviously, beginning from all the little mishaps we had, want to give a shout out once again to Justin Bach for helping me out with my license situation. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, and he'll definitely continue to get my service if I put a deer down out in South Dakota instead of missing. We'll get there. Oh, dang it. But
we had a chance to sit at his shop.
Yeah, on the way home.
Wonderful
here.
taxidermist.
Oh,
yes,
man. Good stuff.
Joe wanted to give him a little thank you gift of some locally made bacon. But beautiful. The mounts he does is really cool. We saw a really unique rack out of Nebraska that was shot late last year, but yet still had the not moss
velvet,
but velvet rather on it. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. But he had some bear in there. He had a cougar in there. He had all sorts of really cool stuff. So nice seeing those mounts and a couple of nice racks from Minnesota that came in already this fall. So that was nice to see.
I'll tell you what, the deer, I mean, obviously he does a phenomenal job, but the thing that really grabbed my eye was that mountain lion mount that he had in there.
Yeah.
Man, every one of his mounts are just so realistic. It's crazy. Yeah, I was as we got there, what we did is back in our hometown, we have some famous bacon that we bring with us out here, and I made another stop there when Justin told me he'd be able to help me out with my license, and picked up a couple extra packages of bacon for him. So we met up with him on the way back here, hoping to drop off a deer head for him, and just a token of our appreciation, or my appreciation, dropped off some bacon for him. But I asked him if he had any decent deer come in. He's like, yeah, and he was able to take us in and show us a few of them. But man, he does a phenomenal job there. So hopefully next time we go out, we can make a stop there and drop off a deer head for him. I do like the work that he does. He does a phenomenal job. But I guess getting to our hunt.
It was a really good hunt.
Yeah, it was
a good trip.
It was a very good trip. I mean, just coming out here and seeing deer alone, it makes it all worth it. And just the people out here, getting to see everybody. We all went up to the other ranch we were able to hunt and got to visit with a landowner up there, and we dropped off some bacon up there for those guys because they let us do some turkey hunting up there this last spring. And yeah, just talk to those guys for a while. It's always good seeing everybody and getting caught up with everything and hearing how harvest went and what the weather all did this last summer. And they were fortunate they were able to get some rain and get some type of crop off and help the creek stay full and the pond stay full for the cattle and the water. But yeah, I guess kind of jumping into day one, it's kind of a getting situated, and we arrived, what was it, midnight roughly?
Somewhere around there, yep, 11:30.
Yeah, and we were able to get unpacked and get set up in the sweet bunkhouse. I told Jerome on the last podcast, if you listen to part one here of our South Dakota trip, the pre-hunting trip, I talked about one of the things I look forward to is just being in the bunkhouse, and I think one of the reasons why is because I think it's comfortable and cozy and sleep well is because you're usually so tired every time you go in there that you just kind of fall asleep, and it's just the most comfortable place ever because you finally get to lay down. After 7.5 hour vehicle ride, it's nice to lay down in a nice comfortable bed, and then after a long day's hunt, it's nice to lay down, kick your legs up, and relax. So I think that's why it's so relaxing to get in there. But yeah, we got set up, and then morning one. Well, when we got there that night, we saw 2 bucks and 2 does right in the yard.
Yep, right in the yard.
Right. So we see those guys in the yard right away, and then we went out morning one to go do our normal glassing that we do. And as we were driving through the yard, they were still in the yard. And as the deer were kind of scattering as we were driving by them, one buck tried jumping this old wood fence that was probably 6 to 7 feet high. I don't know. It was pretty high. It was kind of on a hill. Anyways, that deer jumps up, and as it goes over, the back legs hit the fence, and he just tumbled. I thought he was going to break his neck, but he hit the ground. He got back up and kind of acted like
proverbial ass over tea kettle.
Yeah, he was acting like nothing happened. He was checking out if anyone saw him or not. But yeah, he was a little embarrassed, I think. But yeah, it was pretty funny to watch that. So we went and did our scouting. We didn't see anything that morning, but we had some projects to do. We had to get Dale's blind set up, right, Dale?
Yeah, the ground blind we needed to set up out in that one location. So
yeah, we were kind of looking forward to that spot because almost every year we've hunted there, there's deer crossing there.
Deer coming out every evening, right in that spot. So
we set them up, and we knew we were going to have 2 days worth of hunting that spot with a northwest wind, and so it's kind of tucked underneath a tree, point to point, where deer like to come out and work their way through the field and kind of work their way, into some more cover along the creek, and move on up to the big field where they feed for the evening. But we got the blind set up. Did you like that? I mean, location there, Dale?
oh yeah, it was set up perfectly. It had, like you said, tucked underneath the tree. There was a hill behind me, so we didn't have to worry about anything coming up behind you because it was kind of a drop out there. Mm-hmm. So it was set up perfectly. I could see almost 270 degrees, around myself. So it was good. Plenty of room.
From where I was looking, it's nice having that hillside behind you because that blind blends in so much more, with that behind you instead of just wide open woods or something or open field behind you. But Jerome, why don't you take over after we set that blind up? Something happened after we set the blind up.
So Dale was driving, and because you had your back issue,
the Kubota side by side.
It was a Kubota side by side, and then I sat in the back, and actually we did we had to do some repair on my tree stand first, so we did that, and that went over pretty well, and set up a camera there and stuff like that. Then we set up the blind, and then on the way back, so I'm sitting there, legs down on the back tailgate kind of thing, and as Dale was driving, he hit a trail,
like cattle path
trail that went down like 6 inches, probably
like
something like
3.5 inches.
It felt like 6, maybe 6 feet. But anyway, instead of like stopping when he first hit it with the other ones, he accelerated, and so I go flying, literally from the back tailgate to the cab.
Almost right in our laps.
I'm airborne and land hard, and needless to say, my butt's been hurting ever since, and it's still hurting right now. That's why I'm in the front seat and not the back seat, because the back seat's not supportive enough for my derriere right now because it's sore. So
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Nothing personal, I'm sure, but it was just like.
Well, we hit the bump, and my foot went off temporarily went off the accelerator, and then when I came back down, I hit the thing and took him airborne.
So I think we all kind of said it jokingly. I mean, I wish we would have had the GoPro going because I'm not going to lie. Jerome looked like the white Michael Jordan flying through the air of the back.
It was just not good. It hurt.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's all good. But
so we licked our wounds after that, getting everything set up, and we kind of got set up for the evening hunt. And I wasn't going to make the same mistake that I made last year, not getting out there in time. Last year I saw a nice buck out real early in the spot that I wanted to go to. So I think it was about noon when I went out and hit the stand. And you guys went.
We weren't too far behind you.
No, you guys weren't too far behind. No,
Beautiful day. It really, temperature-wise, was nice and everything.
Yeah, definitely. It was really nice until, wasn't that the day the smoke came in?
Yeah. That it was.
There was reportedly, well, you got a lot of wildfires out in Wyoming that the local landowners said, well, yeah, we've been getting smoke from Wyoming, but we're all in the stand, and all of a sudden, it just like instantly, like there's a fire that would be like within a mile of you, and it's starting to come towards you. It was just really crazy how thick and smoky it was. And here to find out, it's coming from a field north and west of where we're hunting, and
Like an hour and a half.
an hour and a half away, maybe even in North Dakota, where some sunflowers started on fire, and
Yeah.
that's where it came from. But just really thick smoke for about an hour. It was kind of crazy.
It felt like the field, above you, because I was
yeah.
on that little hill, so I couldn't see behind me. But
Yeah, so that was kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
I was looking into the wind where the smoke was coming from at one point, and like I don't know if it was ashes or what, but all of a sudden both my eyes just, I don't know, I got watery, I got stuff in there. It honestly, it was like sitting by a campfire when the wind switches and it starts blowing everything at you. Like that's how thick it was, and I'm not joking. It was bad. Like it was actually getting tough to breathe. And also my phone started ringing. Jerome's like, "What's on fire?" And I'm like, "I don't know what's on fire, but
Can
I'll
you
keep
see
an eye
what's on
open
fire?
for it."
Yeah, just like and it's so dry out there right now that
Yeah.
if something did start on
Oh,
fire,
You'd have to hustle to get out of there.
You have to get out of there because everything's so dry. So, but
Yeah.
so it ended up being a long ways away.
Yeah, and it lasted for about 35, 40 minutes roughly.
Yeah.
And finally worked its way out. But in the meantime, I was watching this little 3-pointer kind of right below me, and he was sitting there eating or whatever, and then he went and kind of in the woods just a little bit and started like raking his antlers against some brush, and then kind of bedded down, and all of a sudden he was like coughing. You hear that deer cough or sneeze or whatever it was. He did that probably 2 or 3 times while that smoke was coming through, and then finally cleared out. But yeah, that's as far as deer goes. I mean, Jerome, I think you saw that same deer, and then he went by Dale.
I think it started with the Jerome
Yeah,
coming across.
I saw it
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
All of a sudden, he popped up in front of me,
Yep.
15 yards. So
And then ended up working his way all over by me. But yeah, night one was kind of quiet. I was surprised. I figured night one was going to be pretty good, but night one was just kind of the start of the weather changing. Like it was just on the front side of this cold front that was coming through. What was the temperature? Do you remember what that temperature was that day one? Was it
it was
It was in the
65.
60s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
65, something like that.
mid 60s or so? And then the next day, Friday, was going to be a high of like 48 or 49
Right.
with a northwest wind, and the pressure was just going to be rising, that morning on Friday. So there was definitely, optimism there that Friday was going to be a little better hunt with the cold temps and whatnot. So as far as day 2 goes, big change in the weather.
Well, it started raining too.
And also we had rain. Yeah. So you got cold temps, rain. I'm like, perfect. This is going to get some big boys moving. And it did. It did.
For you.
So I decided to go out. I think it was, I want to say I was out there around 2 o'clock is when I got to my stand. And I was
raining already.
Yep. It wasn't a mist, but it wasn't a downpour. And I got I usually get my camera stuff set up. I get my, bow hanger set up, and then once I get everything ready to rock, then I pull my bow up. And as I'm pulling my bow up, I had to be careful because if you listen to the podcast previously here, you know that I got some back issues going on, and I had to ride my e-bike out to my stand, which is, I think it's just under a mile or so. So I biked all the way out to my stand. I'm in a ladder stand. And I put the bike right underneath the stand, and I set my bow on the ground, and I go up in the stand, and I pull it up there. But I had to be careful when I was pulling my bow up, because once the bow got off the ground, I knew that it was going to swing and hit the bike. So I was really careful, and I get the bow off the ground. I'm like, perfect, and I'm pulling my bow up, and I'm about halfway up with my bow, and I look out in the field, and they're standing at 60 yards looking at me. Is a really nice 10-pointer. He's staring at me pulling my bow up, and I just freeze. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is my luck. Like, come on. And
Told you should have went out at 10 instead of noon.
yeah, right. So I freeze. I'm like, what do I do? And what happens? He puts his head down, starts eating. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here's my chance. And I pull my bow up as fast as I can. And I get the bow in the stand. And I go in panic mode. I'm like, where's my release? Which pocket is my release in? Because I got a billion things that I take with me in the stand. And I'm hitting pockets. I'm like, I can't find my release. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So this buck comes in. He turns the corner. I don't have a shot at him, nor am I ready to take a shot at him. And he goes and starts raking the exact same branches that this little three-pointer was raking the day before. And all of a sudden, he beds down exactly where that three-pointer was bedded. And the rain comes in, and it was perfect because he was right behind a tree, and there was some good brush on the tree. I don't know what, just those branches out in South Dakota on those trees. It just looks like a mess. It's just thorns coming off everywhere, it looks like. But anyways.
Like a Halloween tree.
Yeah, right. So I watched this buck lay down, and I'm like, perfect. I got set up, and it was raining, and he just sat there, just kind of looked around. It was kind of fun watching him, what he was doing. And it was about 20 minutes after the rain stopped that he got up, shook himself off, and then he walked into the woods, what we call the honey hole. And it was just kind of interesting. You always wonder, after a rain, how long does it take deer to get back up on their feet? Well, this one here, it was 20 minutes. It was 20 minutes after it stopped raining. He got up, shook himself off, and he was on the move. He ended up working his way kind of over towards Dale. He hit a scrape, which they're obviously doing a lot of it right now. It's October 20th right now?
Yep.
And it's scrape time, guys. If you're not on a scrape right now, you ought to be, because they're hitting them pretty good right now. They're working those scrapes over, putting down their scent. But yeah, he went and made a scrape, and then kind of worked his way off into the night. And Dale never saw him because there's just a little bit of a crest in between him and the woods, and he wasn't able to see him work that edge.
The Kennedy grassy knoll.
Yeah. There you go. Good way
knoll.
to explain it. So yeah, he kind of worked his way off, and that was kind of it for day two on my end. Jerome, did you see anything that day?
No, just got wet.
Sure.
That was it.
I was nice and dry in the ground blind.
Yeah, good for you. That was great.
It was actually a perfect rain. Like if these October days when you get a rain like that, it's kind of perfect. It's not something where you're getting drenched. It's enough to make it cold.
Yeah, it was chilly.
But this time of year, you want those deer, having those cold temps to get them on their feet and move. If it's warm, obviously you're not going to, have that increased chance of those deer moving. But I don't know. It was cool to have that encounter with him. I would say he was a 3-year-old, but just a good rack on him. He was a good deer. I asked Dale if he would have shot him, and I think you said yes.
Yeah.
Dale, you haven't shot a buck with your bow yet, correct?
No.
Yeah.
I even passed on that 3-pointer at 15.
Yeah.
He was pretty tiny.
We went into town that night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went into town.
We had some really good soup that I made prior to that, and then we went into town.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Crockpot
soup on a cold day. That worked out pretty
day.
well. I could eat right away, and so that worked out good.
That was my motivation, to stay warm in the stand.
Yep.
I just kept thinking about that warm chicken noodle soup.
Exactly. So we go into town, and the town that we went to has 2 local establishments, your bar that serves food and stuff like that. And ordered a drink, and we were watching some college football, doing really well. And we would have probably sat there for maybe a second round or 2 more, but we weren't wearing camo, but yet they couldn't see us for some reason. I don't know what the deal was. So
They're busy.
We're sitting
They're
at
busy.
the bar even.
yeah, we were at the bar, and we had 3 empty drinks in front of us, and for about 15 minutes, no service. So it is what it is. But so I bought the first round. It was $15 or $15 total. So I threw a 20 out there, got the $5 back, and then a lot of places in like South Dakota, Montana, they got little casinos. state-run casino games in the bar. So I thought, well, I'll go back and played Buffalo Gold. Won my $20 back. That I put $20 in, took 40 out of the machine. So at least we got a free round, even though the service was crappy. So I was going to give her a $5 tip. It ended up being a $2 tip, so because she wasn't servicing us very well. But anyway, then we go to the other bar, and that was fine. So
Yeah.
No, it's always fun getting into town and just seeing different people and different establishments. Always kind of cool, and then get some little live TV, some college football action. It's always good too.
yeah, it was good.
Now we went into town that day too. I think it was looking for an SD card reader because we ran into a little issue with our camera where it wasn't the camera's issue, it was the SD card issue. SD card error, and it wasn't the recommended Tacticam SD card that I put in there. But yeah, I had a SD card fail on us, and I thought I had an SD card adapter reader for my computer, but I did not. So, hey, why wouldn't a town of 45 have a store that has a SD card reader somewhere, But
Did
no,
not have it.
they did not. They did not have it. So
I think it's bigger than 45, but not much.
yeah, so I ended up getting a different SD card out there and threw it up, and it's sending me pictures right now, and hopefully that one holds up until we can get a better SD card in there. But yeah, it was a little bit of an obstacle and frustrating because I had a couple good bucks on there that I had video mode on, and I tried getting those videos to send to me, but they didn't send, and camera shut down because of the SD card error. So kind of frustrating, but I think I got everything situated. We got that camera going again. It's sending pictures. It's not of deer. It's just the branch moving right now, so I had to turn the sensitivity down and got that all started. So I'm looking forward to seeing what type of deer show up on camera here in the near future because, as everyone knows right now, your cameras are lighting up and the new bucks are showing up, and it's a really exciting time of year if you're an archery hunter and deer hunter in general.
Absolutely. So
I'm just kind of looking at my notes here and what happened next. Oh yeah, so that was that night, and then it was raining cold, right? And then the next morning we knew it was going to be. I didn't know it was supposed to get down to 29 degrees and frosty. I just knew it was going to be cold, and the bucks were obviously hitting scrapes. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going for a morning hunt. I usually don't do morning hunts, and we've kind of just hunted the evenings out here. But I said, you know what? We're getting down there with time. I'm going out in the morning. It's cold. The bucks are scraping. Maybe you'll catch one coming back to bed, a little later, maybe working a scrape line or something. So I went out there. You guys elected not to. Dale, you went up scouting, right?
I went out scouting.
On the hill again? Yep. And what'd you see up there?
Well, we were watching. I was watching from the haystack area and the ranch, and up on the one hill there was probably 6 or 7 just whitetails sitting up there eating as they normally do, grazing around. And then down a little lower, closer to where Jerome's stand was, there was 3 doe and a buck that was chasing them, nose down to the ground and running them around the field. So it was a little ways away from where Jerome was sitting, but not too bad. Next draw over, I think. So that was some good things. So there was probably 10 deer there, 11 deer. But then the rancher that owned that property was on it was on the one adjacent property, and so he was out gathering a steer or something, a heifer, or just a lone one out there, and made some noise, and those deer that were up on the hill ran down towards the draw that and the riverbed that Jerome has a stand on. So it was kind of exciting to. I texted him and said, "Hey, you got to get on here and take a look." So we were kind of watching those things on Saturday morning. So that was good news to see that I'm on deer. We had been going to the north side a lot, or the first couple of days. So at least knowing on the south side of the ranch there was some stuff going on as well.
How far away was that noise from the deer, the rancher, when he made the noise or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. It was hard to say. Probably 400, 500 yards at least. Probably more than that.
Okay.
I mean, I could hear him plain as day when he was whistling and yelling at the cow.
Sure.
So
was he in sight of the deer?
He was inside of the deer, yes.
So the deer could see him?
Yep.
Okay. because I was just wondering because like I was telling you guys that that 3-pointer that I saw, he was right underneath me, and I'm almost a mile away from the ranch itself, the farm, and somebody must have banged a gate really loud or something, shut a gate, and that deer, I mean, was pinpoint on that sound, and he got a little nervous, and he kind of hopped into the woods, like he wasn't going to stick around. And like I said, this is, obviously a little more open country, but I mean, where he was standing, he couldn't see the farm or anything. But he
Just heard a noise.
He heard a noise about a mile away, dang near. It was a really loud noise, and he didn't like that and got out of there. So that just kind of goes to show, like, if you make some type of odd noise out in the woods, whether it's maybe banging a pipe against something, or your release hits the stand, ladder or something like that, and it's not a natural sound, those deer are alerted by that. Obviously I just saw it firsthand, and
these deer aren't pressured either.
No, they're not. They're not. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you make some type of odd noise that's not natural, you might be deterring deer from coming your direction. But I don't know, it's just kind of curious. I mean, I'm always interested in watching deer behavior when they don't know you're there. Just watch them naturally and see how they respond to certain things. And that was just one thing I kind of picked up on, that one little noise just about a mile away got that deer a little bit on edge, and he didn't like that, and he just got into some type of cover. So I thought that was real interesting. But getting back to my hunt that morning, there was good frost on the ground.
Deer.
There was really good frost on the ground, and it was cold. It was like, it got down to like 29 degrees, and got in the stand, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I see off to my left, this, I think it was the same 3-pointer, come walking out around the corner of the bend in the creek, and I'm sitting there watching them, like, okay, whatever, and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see rack come out in the middle of the field around the bend, and I'm like, okay, this guy's getting an arrow.
Game on.
Just kind of, I know there are bigger deer out there, but I'm just kind of uncertain about the possibility of coming back out here with my back situation. I'm actually supposed to be having surgery here on the 23rd, but he started working my way, and I was like, okay, I'm going all in, and I'm going to take this deer. And I'm sitting there filming him, getting my bow ready slowly, because it is dead calm. I mean, there is no wind whatsoever. Cold, crisp morning, no wind, and they're angled coming right at me along the creek. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, the coyotes start yelping and howling back towards the house, which is almost a mile away, and that buck did not like that. His tail went up, it bushed out, and he took off in a run, angling away from me. I don't know, he was coming towards me, but his angle went away. If he would have came straight down the line, I would have had a 15-yard shot at him, 15, 20-yard shot. But he cuts the corner, and he's angling away. So I go in panic mode. I'm trying to get the camera on him, and all of a sudden they stop and look at me, and I'm not pulled back with my bow yet. And all of a sudden they start walking away, and I zoom in on them, which, a mistake. If you're self-filming and you have deer on the move, don't zoom in tight.
Right.
So you got to stay back and get the whole thing. You can edit that later, but I wanted to try to get a nice close clip of this. I'm like, if I'm going to shoot this deer, I want good premiere footage of this guy. So I zoomed in on him, and as I'm pulling back, he was starting to walk, and he walked off the camera, but I pulled back, and my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour. I knew the spot he was by was 30 yards, and he was about 10 yards further than that when he stopped when I pulled back, and he was looking right at me. I put the 40-yard pin on him, hit the trigger, and shot right underneath him. He didn't jump the string. It was all me, and I shot and it went underneath them. And once the arrow hit the ground, they took off running, went into the woods, and obviously frustration set in immediately. I rushed the shot. I always, talk about, shooting to kill and all this stuff, and I panicked, and I just shot too fast, I felt. But going back and looking at it, that 40-yard pin was on him, and I'm like, obviously I messed up. So he goes into the woods, and all of a sudden, a few minutes later, they come running out of the woods, kind of over where Dale's blind is, looking back into the woods. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Well, here I look down, and here comes 2 coyotes right in front of me. And I'm going to shoot these things, but it's early in the morning yet, and dumb me, I brought 2 broadheads with arrows and then 2 field tips with arrows, obviously. So I got 4 arrows, 2 of them got broadheads, 2 of them got field tips. Well, I had my other broadhead arrow knocked, and I didn't shoot the coyote because that was my last broadhead that I had with me in the quiver. So I let those guys go, and I told Jerome a guy should have 2 bows out there. One bow knocked with an arrow with a broadhead, another bow knocked with the field tip. Like, seriously, just frustrating. They come underneath me, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't even shoot these things. But the thing is, those things are so spooky. Like, you make one little movement in the stand, if you don't have good cover, boom, they're gone. And that's what I did. I was going to pretend like I was going to pull back, and it looked, and boom, just bolted. So, yeah, I wasn't able to get a shot at him or both of them. And they took off. But, yeah, those coyotes pushed those 2 bucks out of there, and they kind of took off. But, yeah, it was frustrating. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? That's on me. And I'm not making excuses by any means. But the next day I did go out and shoot my bow, which I told you the day we went out, I went out that day, Jerome. The prior day, I said we need to shoot our bows to make sure they're still on. And I didn't, and I remember that when I got out to the stand.
Yeah.
But anyways, I didn't, and then after that little encounter, I actually went and shot my bow, and at 40 yards, I was shooting about 8 inches low. And I was just like, you idiot. Like, you always have to do that. You have to shoot your bow when you go on those trips. I know last year when I went out there, I shot it that night when I got out there at about 11 o'clock at night. I just set a light up on a round bale, I put a leaf on the round bale, and shot at the round bale and made sure it was on. But that's what happens when you don't do your homework and due diligence and make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to be. But like I said, that's on me for not doing that and executing in the end. But it is what it is, and hopefully you get another opportunity to get out there. And I'll tell you what, if he makes it through this year, he's going to be a stud next year. But we'll see what happens. So that was kind of my morning. Evening, I went out to a different spot, and I didn't see Jack. I saw some prairie chickens, but that was about it. And I don't think you guys saw anything that evening as well, did you?
No, I went out at noon.
Yep.
And by 2:30, I had 6 deer around.
That's right.
That was
Yeah, you switched spots.
I switched
You went to a
spots.
different spot because of the wind.
Because of the wind, I could finally, that new stand that we put up in a creek bottom, I went there. And, for about 45 minutes, I had 6 deer around me. So does and fawns, and one, there was a 2x2 or a fork, or whatever you want to call it, whitetail. Mm-hmm. And that gave me confidence. They really didn't see me, which made me feel good. And it was... for the longest time they were there, but nothing big showed up. And this year, knowing the deer that are up there, and with an opportunity to probably go again later this fall out there again during the rut or around the rut, I could have had a doe, for the longest time at 15 yards broadside from me, but I chose not to shoot it. And then the fawns and stuff were walking around, but they hardly knew I was there. They really didn't, and so that made me feel good that stand's a good location and everything. Yeah. But then after they left, they hung around for a while, but they weren't in front of me. After they moved, they kind of went down the creek bottom a little ways, and then about half hour later, a couple of them came back, and the buck itself strayed away by itself. He didn't go with the rest of the group, and so. So that was kind of cool to see. But then after that, I really didn't see anything the rest of the night either.
Dale, did you have some action yesterday?
I didn't go out hunting but I was moving some locations. Well, so because we were talking about the wind and such, and the wind changed, so I didn't want to go down to the ground blind because that would put my scent right into where you were sitting or going to be sitting. So I was looking for a different spot, and checked it all out and was getting ready to set things up. And the landowner had said, "Be careful, there's a bunch of skunks lying around or going around." So yeah. I was prepared for that. Thought I was. And when I was setting, looking for different spots, there was a skunk that was coming right at me, and probably, 20 yards maybe, 15 yards, something like that. And I was armed, so I took care of the skunk. But you talk about unfamiliar sounds in the deer area, shooting a 9mm. Probably would take care of any deer that are in the area. So I was kind of done for that location and then the other locations. So I was like, well, I'm not going back to get my stuff. And so, so I was sitting there for a little while just thinking, okay, well, I should probably go somewhere else. And so I moved about 150 yards up the hill a little just to kind of see if I could scout anything, because Jerome was down, I don't know, probably 600, 700 yards down a different area. So I thought, well, I'll go up on the top of the hill and at least I can scout some land and see where the deer are moving and such again. It was on that same location or by the haystacks where I was the Saturday morning. Watched the doe come across the ridge a little bit and watched her for a while and sitting there and I heard something just, I don't know, a leaf or something behind me, and I turned around 5 feet from me, another skunk. I'm like, I am done. Anyway, was able to take care of that one for the rancher as well. So, that took care of, at least there's something down, I guess, but I'm not going to, gut it out or anything. But yeah, that was mine for the day. I tell you, when you're sitting there and quiet and such and just kind of relaxing and watching deer movement and trying to figure out where they're going and how they're working out, and then all of a sudden you got that adrenaline of, stinking up the truck on the way back home or, not being able to sleep in the bunkhouse because you're all sprayed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my action on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. It was like, it all turned out well. I just didn't get to go hunting.
Yeah, I'm out in the stand, and all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. I'm like, holy buckets. Dale's getting some shooting.
You heard it?
I did. Oh, yeah, I could hear it. Hear it. Yeah, that was funny. So
they had it coming.
So
they had it coming.
We were able to harvest something, I guess.
Yep.
Let's fast forward to this morning, Jerome. You kind of, why don't you cap off the hunt here?
Well, yeah. I think you were planning on going out too, but you can tell your story. But anyway, I went out in the dark and found my stand, which is good. Always a good thing when you can find your stand in the dark. Nothing really came close to my stand, but right before the sun crested over the hill, so right around sunrise this morning, saw some activity to the, which would be south and west of me, I believe. Anyway, here was... I saw the pawing action of a deer pawing on the ground. Well, here it ended up when it finally moved a little bit behind a tree and got the binoculars up. It was a nice 10-point buck, one of the bigger deer I've seen in a long time, which is nice. But it was about 100 yards away from me on the other side of the creek, kind of along some trees that were farther away from me. But I saw it, for about 10 minutes or so, probably something like that. I was seeing it, a little less than that, but. Nice to see a big deer like that. I was prepared in case it would come my way, but it did not. But definitely got me excited for coming back and knowing that there are nice deer out there. And so, but that was nice to see. But it was definitely a shooter. If it would have came close, I would have had no problem taking it. So
we were kind of talking too, like it's kind of crazy. You sit there and kind of where we come from here in Minnesota. like you said, is one of the biggest bucks you've seen in a long time. You just, I don't know, sometimes you get in that state of mind where I'm probably not going to see anything. But out here, it's like all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, there's a good buck. It's like, holy buck. It's like when I was pulling up my bow. Like all of a sudden, I don't have to worry too much back at home pulling up my bow that a nice shooter buck's going to be sitting there staring at me. But, I mean, it happens. But just seems like out here more often than not, all of a sudden, boom, if you're in a good spot, that you're gonna see some good action. But, yeah, it's cool that last day you were able to see a good shooter. And kind of like we were talking, we might make a little stand adjustment here for the rut if we're able to get back out there again. Just kind of where everything funnels down, maybe trying to get in a stand in that location where, you don't have to pick one side or the other. You're going to get both those trails or both those funnels leading, funneling down, those tree lines funneling down to one spot and hopefully catch something coming through there like today.
Yep, and by my stand, too, we put another Tacticam up and hopefully get some good intel, too, as far as what kind of activity is coming through, and if we can find a better spot, then we will.
Yeah, so I was going to go out this morning as well, and I was kind of nervous about this, but I woke up this morning and got all ready to go for the last final morning, and I'm not going to lie, it's tough for me to get ready right now. Jerome actually had to help me a time or two put my socks on. My back is just giving me issues where essentially what it feels like is somebody's just putting a flame to the backside of my leg and it just burns. I get these shocks that go down and numbness and all that good stuff. And I've been using my e-bike and whatnot. So I got ready this morning and I went outside to hop on my e-bike and both my tires are flat on it. And the reason why is because the previous night I went out to a different location and I saw this. I wasn't familiar with the terrain and stuff, and I'm trying to work downhill, kind of doing some switchbacks because the brakes on the bike are a little loud, a little squeaky, and so I was kind of going back and forth to stay slow so I wasn't going down the hill so fast. And then I saw this open spot, so I'll just drive through that. Well, here that open area was a bunch of cactus. And I drove right through the cactus, and these cactus were stuck. The thorns were stuck on the tires as the tires were going around. I'm like, oh, no, this isn't good. And so I went out there, sat in the stand, and I got out a little early that night, knowing that my tires could be flat, but they were good. But woke up this morning, and both tires were flat. So unfortunately, I was not able to go out to a stand because I just can't walk that far right now. And hopefully things change, but I don't know if this will work or not, but it worked on the last bike that I used that ended up getting a flat tire because of a thorn that went through there. But that green goo gel stuff you put in tires, I put that in there and it worked. So I was wondering if I put that in there prior to going out.
Keep going.
Hunting, if that would prevent the tires from going flat, but you're going to have a bunch of thorns stuck in your tires. So sure. I don't know what the plan of attack is, but I know I got to figure something out with those tires because when you take those tires out west and bikes out west, those cactus will stick right through those tires and
eat them up.
Yeah, big time. So,
but overall, it was a really good trip.
It was.
I mean,
it was fun.
It was fun. We all come back with aches and pains, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to going back there. I am, and hopefully that the weather cooperates where I can get back out there because there's some deer that are quality enough to go out there trying to shoot for. So
yeah, definitely. So it'll be fun if we can get back out there, no doubt. But yeah, thanks guys for another good trip. We're just getting back here, so we're going to kind of wrap things up here. Good luck to everyone this year. Things are cranking up. It's a lot of fun. Bucks are really starting to get on their feet, starting to move around a little bit. A lot of sparring action going on. Uncle Steve videotaped 2 bucks really fighting the other day. One actually rolled the other one and kind of getting after it pretty good. So it's pretty good footage that Steve got. But other than that, you guys, good luck out there. It's a fun time of year. Enjoy it. Make sure you keep it fun. Get the kids out there. I know youth season's just wrapping up today. Get some kids out there. Bring the family out there. Enjoy it with your friends and family. And, we're going to wrap it up here. So we'll catch you guys later.
Take care.
Take care. We'll see ya. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Once again, we had a great trip out to South Dakota. Yeah, we're not coming back with anything, but it was a good time. Hopefully, we're able to get back out there. Jerome and I might head back out here later on in November and try to hit that rut when things really crank up out there. But, yeah, it was a good time. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Just want to give a little shout-out and thanks to all of our sponsors and partners, Arctic Shield, Domain Outdoor, J&R Outdoors, Skullcraft, The Fish Guide, TactCam, and Fourth Arrow Camera Arms. We appreciate you guys listening. Until next time, take care.